What happens to your brain in total silence? What if the quiet you've been desperately craving could actually drive you a little mad? We're swimming in a world saturated with noise, traffic, notifications, the endless chatter of a life lived online. We dream of an escape, a moment of pure, uninterrupted silence. But what happens when you actually get it? What happens when you strip every last sound away? In absolute silence, your brain doesn't just kick back and relax. It starts to invent a reality of its own. And the first thing you'll hear isn't peace. It's the sound of your own body. Section 1. The Chamber of Madness. Deep in Minneapolis, there's a room that isn't designed for comfort. It's designed for nothingness. This is the anechoic chamber at Orfield Laboratories, a place that has repeatedly battled for the Guinness World Record of quietest place on Earth. The term anechoic literally means without echo, and the room lives up to the name. The walls, ceiling, and floor are covered in giant geometric wedges of fiberglass that absorb over 99% of all sound. For a while, Microsoft's chamber in Redmond, Washington held the record with a measurement of around minus 20.6 decibels. But as of late 2021, Orfield Labs reclaimed the title with an almost unbelievable measurement of minus 24.9 decibels. For context, 0 decibels is the threshold of human hearing, so these are levels of quiet that simply don't exist in nature. In here, sound doesn't bounce, it just dies. When you step inside and that heavy, insulated door seals you off from the world, the first thing you notice is how disorienting it is. We don't often think about it, but our brains use the constant, subtle echoes of sound to place ourselves in the world. It's an auditory anchor. When that anchor is gone, your sense of balance can start to wobble. People report feeling unsteady, and it's so disorienting that visitors are usually advised to stay seated. But losing your balance is just the warm-up act. After a few moments, as your ears strain to find any signal in the void, something else emerges. A faint, rhythmic thumping. It's your heartbeat, louder than you've ever heard it. Then comes the soft whoosh of your own breathing. You can hear your stomach gurgling. These are the sounds of your own biology, normally masked by everything else. Here, they become the entire symphony. Many people find this experience incredibly intense. The popular idea of a 45-minute record for staying inside is more of an anecdotal media talking point than a hard scientific limit. But the psychological pressure is very real. The experience becomes a direct confrontation with your own physical self. Some people even report hearing their eyelids close, or the subtle creak of their own joints. Your body, the silent vessel carrying you through life, is suddenly screamingly loud, and your brain, starved of data, is about to take matters into its own hands. Section 2. The Ghost in the Machine. So what is actually happening in your brain to cause all this? Well, you have to stop thinking of the brain as a passive receiver of information. Your brain is an active prediction machine. It's constantly building a model of the world and using incoming sensory data to check and update that model. When a massive data stream, like sound, is suddenly severed, the brain doesn't just go quiet. It kind of panics. First, it cranks up the gain. The auditory cortex, the part of your brain that handles sound, becomes hypersensitive, desperately searching for any signal it can find. This is why the internal sounds of your body become so prominent. Your brain usually filters them out as unimportant background noise. But in an anechoic chamber, your heartbeat isn't background noise. It's the main event. Your brain isn't just hearing it. It's putting a microphone to your chest. As the silence stretches on, another, more mysterious network in the brain can awaken. The default mode network, or DMN. Discovered by neuroscientist Marcus Rachel, the DMN is a collection of brain regions that fire up when we're not focused on the outside world. It's the part of you that daydreams, pulls up old memories, and worries about the future. It's the storyteller of you. In our noisy, distraction-filled lives, we're often so focused on external tasks that the DMN stays in the background. This is a bit of an interpretive, metaphorical framing, not a hard experimental finding. But when you enter total silence, the DMN can really take center stage. With nothing else to process, your brain turns its full attention inward. And this is where things can go from just uncomfortable to truly strange. Lacking external data, your brain starts building a reality from its own internal library. Memories, fears, and stray thoughts. Section 3. When the brain starts inventing. This is where hallucinations can kick in. When the brain's prediction engine is running without any real-world data to check its work, it starts generating its own. People in states of extreme sensory deprivation report hearing things that aren't there. Faint music, buzzing insects, even voices. This isn't a new discovery. Back in the 1950s, a psychologist named Donald Hebb conducted a series of now famous sensory deprivation experiments at McGill University. His work had some striking similarities to the anechoic chamber experience, but he aimed to reduce all sensory input. Student volunteers were paid to lie in a comfortable bed, but they wore translucent goggles that let in light but no patterns, cardboard cuffs to muffle their sense of touch, and listened to a constant, monotonous hum of white noise. Hebb had hoped the experiment could last for weeks. No one made it more than a few days. After a period of intense boredom, their minds began to unravel. They saw patterns of dots and lines, which then morphed into complex, dreamlike scenes. As one famous anecdotal report goes, a student saw a procession of squirrels marching with sacks over their shoulders. Another saw processions of giant eyeglasses. Their ability to think clearly plummeted. Hebb's work revealed a fundamental truth. The brain needs constant, varied stimulation from the outside world to keep a firm grip on reality. Without it, the mind begins to feed on itself. If you're finding this dive into the strange wiring of the human mind fascinating, take a moment to subscribe. We explore the hidden mechanics of your brain every week. Section 4, the healing power of quiet. So it sounds like absolute silence is a one-way ticket to a breakdown. In the extreme, sterile environment of a lab, it certainly can be. But that's just one side of the story. The jarring experience of an anechoic chamber is a sprint into sensory deprivation. What happens when you take more of a marathon approach? This is the world of silent retreats. Instead of the shock of total nothingness, a retreat offers a gradual immersion into quiet over several days. The initial anxiety is often still there. The default mode network still flares up, bringing a flood of inner chatter. But given time, the brain can adapt. Instead of panicking, it can start to reset. While direct research on silent retreats is still growing, studies on related practices like meditation are revealing profound benefits. Some research suggests that these practices can lead to a reduction in cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone. As stress levels fall, the brain's fight or flight center, the amygdala, seems to quiet down, allowing for better emotional regulation. But perhaps the most tantalizing finding comes from a 2013 study on mice, published in the journal Brain, Structure, and Function. Researchers exposed groups of mice to different sounds, including ambient noise, white noise, music, and 2 hours of silence per day. The results were stunning. Only one stimulus promoted the growth of new cells in the hippocampus, a critical brain region for learning, memory, and emotion. That stimulus was silence. The study found that just 2 hours of quiet a day was enough to trigger the development of new neurons in the adult mouse brain. Now, we have to be extremely cautious here. This was a study on mice, and we can't just assume the same thing happens in humans, but it points to a powerful possibility. The researchers hypothesized that the brain might interpret this profound silence as an important event, prompting it to grow new cells to be better prepared for future challenges. It's a theory, but it suggests silence isn't an empty space, but an active process that may help the brain replenish itself. Conclusion. So what does this all mean? The experience of total silence, from the terror of the anechoic chamber to the tranquility of a retreat, reveals a profound truth about our minds. We are not passive observers of reality. Our brains are actively constructing our world, moment by moment. When we strip away the noise, we aren't left with nothing. We're left with ourselves, the raw, unfiltered hum of our own biology, and the deep, complex machinery of our consciousness. Silence forces the default mode network into the spotlight, making us confront the stories we tell ourselves. In a lab, this can feel overwhelming, but with intention, it might be healing. It offers a chance for the brain to switch from constant reactive processing to a more restorative state. The potential benefits, from reduced stress to the fascinating possibility of stimulating new brain cell growth, suggested by animal studies, hint that what we often dismiss as doing nothing might be one of the most important things we can do for our cognitive health. In our relentlessly noisy world, maybe silence isn't a luxury. Maybe it's a nutrient. It's the space where the brain can finally stop reacting and start reflecting, consolidating, and perhaps even rebuilding. So the next time you find a moment of quiet, don't rush to fill it. Listen closely. You might just hear your brain at work. What's the longest you've ever gone in total silence? And what did it feel like? Let us know in the comments below. And if you want to keep exploring the frontiers of your own mind, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching.